My name is Rafiu Ajakaye from Kwara APC Media, and today we want to have a media chat with you on the achievement of His Excellency Mall Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq. I would like to meet you, sir. Can you please a short introduction of yourself for people that are not parents watching this video right now?
Thank you very much, my brother, Mr. Obitokun, and your colleagues from the Kwara APC Media. I welcome you to the office of the CPS, Government House. My name is Rafiu Ajakaye, and I'm the CPS. CPS means Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Kwara State. Good afternoon, Kwarans. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
Yes, 2019, this government came to power through Auto-Day Revolution, and it was because Kwarans were tired of how the administration of the past administration was. How is it like now in Kwara State after Abdulrahman took over the leadership of Kwara State?
Well, let me begin in the name of God. I like to start that way. Well, you have summarized the fact that in 2019, the people of Kwara State were simply tired of the prevailing situation in the state then across every sector. Is it in the area of staff welfare, that is workers, the civil servant? Is it in the area of basic education? Is it in the area of primary health care? Is it in the area of rural development and even urban development itself? Mention it. The people of Kwara State were tired, and of course, they were also tired of the arrogance and the frivolities and the pomposity, the courage of those who were privileged to be in public office then. So you may look at it this way. In the area of tangibles, deliverables, people were tired about the fact that for many years they had very few things to care about. In the area of intangibles, in the way people in government or people in power then, the way they carry themselves, the way people perceive them, things were bad, really. Now, if you want to do a comparative analysis between the past and present, we can spend between now and tomorrow trying to explain what has changed between the past and the present. And I like to always begin my analysis from the media sector because by the grace of God, I'm a journalist, and I know what we met in 2019 in the media sector. Let us begin with Radio Kwara. Radio Kwara was off air. Its workers were being owed months in salary arrears. Today, when we came on board, His Excellency settled the arrears that we met on the ground. And Radio Kwara that was off air then, that was barely existing in terms of the quality, and of course, in terms of its perception amongst the people of Kwara State, it was basically non-existent, if I may use that word. And that is not because workers at Radio Kwara were not willing to work. It was because of the fact that the sector had been bastardized, a lot of politicking had been involved. Things were so bad that Radio Kwara was being called some funny name in those years. Some may call it local radio, some may call it some other names, which people of Kwara State can relate to, particularly people in the metropolis here. So whatever story I'm telling now, I'm not making anything up. There are things that people could relate with, particularly if you lived in Kwara or you have interacted with people of Kwara State. The dignity of the Kwara person had gone to the lowest ebb. Now, Radio Kwara in 2019, I've told you the brief history. Today, Radio Kwara now runs what you may call 24-hour service, from being a standalone radio, that is a radio that was barely existing and it was just operated, it was just there for the sake of it. Radio Kwara now runs 24 hours, like I've mentioned. Radio Kwara is now more accessible to the people of Kwara State. People of Kwara State are now proud to call Radio Kwara their own radio. Today, whether you are a member of the ruling party whether you are a member of whatever party in the opposition, Radio Kwara is accessible to you. I remember in those years, because I was a spokesperson for the opposition for many years, and Radio Kwara in those years was not accessible. People were afraid, even professionals in Radio Kwara, they were afraid of entertaining anything from the opposition. Today, you now have access to Radio Kwara. Now, apart from, like I said, apart from just being the Midland FM that it was then, which had become a second-tier radio in the state, because I remember then when the people in government were going to use radio, Radio Kwara was no longer their number one choice. Today, Radio Kwara is the number one choice of this administration because of the quantum of investment we have made there. Secondly, because of our time, apart from being Midland FM, we now have Kakaki FM, which the MDC has now accredited. We now also have the Notia FM, which I'm going to tell you a brief history also. The Notia FM is a radio station that's for the purpose of people who are not from Kwara or who have not heard anything about this. For the first time since 1967, the entire landmass in Radio Kwara, particularly people in the Barutin and Kama axis, between 1967 and a few months ago, they were only able to listen to radio from outside of Nigeria or from neighboring states. There was not a single radio station servicing the good people of Kwara North. Within the past 3 years, this administration has established a brand new radio that has now been licensed by the NBC, and to the glory of God, our people, whether you are members of the ruling party or members of the opposition, or you don't even embrace any of the political party, you are just an ordinary citizen wanting the service of a radio station, you can walk into Notia FM and enjoy its service. That is a landmark achievement. Like I mentioned to you, Kwara was founded in 1967, and between then and now, imagine the people of Kwara North having to listen to radio stations from Benin Republic or from Oyo State. That's Gravity FM. But we have changed that story. Now, if you ask me the difference between then and now, I've just told you a very clear story of how we have made tremendous achievements between 2019 and today. From one radio station, we now have 3 radio stations, functional radio stations, okay, that have put themselves to the full service of the people of Kwara State. Now, that's media sector. In all of this, we are not owing anybody any money. We have implemented the minimum wage to the radio stations. Now, when you look at the basic education sector, education is the bedrock of any civilization. When we came aboard in 2019, basic education had collapsed in Kwara State. Things were so bad that between 2013 and 2019, Kwara State was on the blacklist, official blacklist of the Universal Basic Education Commission in Abuja. Kwara State no longer had any relationship with UBEC. And what does the UBEC do? UBEC is an agency of the federal government that is supposed to support the subnationals, like Kwara State and other states of the federation, to develop basic education. In 2013, Kwara State was supposed to get put down 1 billion naira and to get a matching grant of 1 billion naira, and then put this money together, making 2 billion naira to develop education infrastructure, to train teachers and provide some other facilities. What did Kwara do? What did the former administration do? They purport to put that money on the ground, their own 1 billion naira, and they tricked UBEC into giving them 1 billion naira. That was done, and when the money came, rather than using the money for what it was meant for, that money was mismanaged. It was diverted. And for that reason, UBEC blacklisted Kwara State. And if you want to see the impact of that blacklist, travel around the entire Kwara State. Look at the quality of the infrastructure, the school infrastructure, the school environment. Things were bad that people started withdrawing their children from our schools. Teachers were not being paid. Months of salary arrears were inherited from the former administration. Yet, this was an administration that got different bailout from the federal government to solve some of these things, but those things were never done. And as I'm talking to you now, we are still struggling to pay some of these arrears. But since we came on board in 2019, we have not owed anyone a dime in terms of payment of salary. Now, I mentioned to you that Kwara was on the blacklist. When we came on board, we still had a backlog of 450 million naira debt that they were owing UBEC. We cleared that, and then we sourced for 7.1 billion naira counterpart funds. And then we took that to UBEC and accessed additional 7.1 billion naira. And together, we put that together, and we are working with UBEC till date. And that's why anywhere you go to in this state, you see schools wearing new look. Our children are now happy to go to public schools. Our parents are now happy to enroll their children in public schools. So we have taken Kwara off the blacklist. We are now developing education infrastructure. The school environment is now better compared to what we had before. In fact, they are light years apart compared to what we met with them. Go to the Ilorin Metropolis, go to Ifelodun, go to Ofa, go to Barutin, go to Kayama. In any part of this state you go to today, you see that our schools very new looks. Now, apart from the education infrastructure, the administration has also been deliberate in ensuring that we improve the manpower. That's the quality of teaching in public schools has improved tremendously. How did we do it? We ensure that we no longer owe our teachers. No, it's a no-brainer. When you engage somebody and you are not paying them, you have breached your own part of the contract. It's a social contract. You have breached that contract, and to that extent, you no longer have any moral right, in fact, any legal right, to compel them to go to school when you are not paying them. Because the unwritten rule is that when you engage somebody, you have to teach in your school as a government, you have engaged them to pay them. You pay them their salaries. But we had situations where teachers were owed months of salary, unpaid salaries. Some of them, things were so bad that some of them started committing suicide. Things were so bad that some of them started taking up many jobs when they were supposed to be in the school. And to ask our people, if you want to verify this story, ask Kwarans who are not living in Kwara what the situation was before 2019, what their experiences were. I've interacted with several Kwarans who are based in Abuja, who are based outside of the country, and the first thing they will tell me is that we thank this governor, because even if we are not on the ground to see some of those things we have heard about him that he's doing on the ground, there is something we can all speak to, which is the fact that we no longer get calls from our cousins, from our brothers, from our sisters, who were begging us that we should please bail them out because they were not being paid salary. This administration has stopped that era of non-payment of salary. We have stopped the area of teachers or workers getting percentage salary. Today we pay salary 100% and as and when due. We pay workers when we are supposed to do that, and to that extent, the obligation for them to teach when they are supposed to teach is now there. We now have the moral stamina as an administration to say, if you have been engaged to teach in school A, B, C, D, you must go there to teach. That is the moral stamina that we now have, because as an administration, we have fulfilled our own part of the bargain. But like I said, that was not the situation before. So that's one. Secondly, like I said, we have also improved the manpower of our teachers, the existing ones and the new ones. Now, how did we do that? By paying back counterpart funds, by re-enrolling Kwara back in UBEC, we achieved something. We smoothened our relationship with UBEC. And that's why whatever any other state enjoys today in terms of what UBEC has to offer, Kwara State now enjoys a lot more. You have a mega school that is being constructed in Ilorin West here, a big one of its kind in the country, through the relationship of UBEC and the state government. That is happening because of the harmonious relationship between the state government and the federal government, that is UBEC. Now, apart from that, there are training opportunities from time to time for the old teachers and the new teachers. So that's one in terms of capacity building. Of course, on our own, we are also doing our own. Now, the culture we inherited from the past when we came on board was a culture of government distributing teaching jobs in political wars, sharing forms for teaching profession to politicians for the sake of it. Now, the people who were doing this, they were careless, they were carefree about the consequences of their action on the future of Kwara State and on the future of our children. Because when you just give anyone teaching job, what you are saying is that you do not care about the quality of teaching. Things were so bad, things got so bad that people who did not even have 5 O-level credits were teaching in secondary schools. Things were that bad. How did we get to know? We got to know because some of those people who were engaged, the so-called, I'm not going to mention them, but some of those who were engaged, that we had to engage because of disengage because of the future of our children. Some of them applied to teach again, and we discovered that many of them did not even have 5 O-level credits. And what did we do? We rolled out a system, a very, very transparent and accountable system of engaging teachers. We have engaged, we have hired 4,701 teachers, 2,000 at the level of Teaching Service Commission and 2,701 at the level of SUBEM. How did we do that? We set up a committee, we brought in experts from colleges of education, from the university, from the civil society movement community. We brought them together and we handed them the responsibility to hire, to recruit our teachers. And that's why you cannot see a single, any of these teachers that you can say did not have the right qualification or did not have the required competence at the level for which you have engaged them to teach. That is at the basic education and of course at the senior secondary school. So what we have done was shocking to many people because they never thought we could pull it out. Because that was not the culture. The culture was that, in fact, a lawmaker, because of what they were used to, was bold enough to go on radio to castigate the governor for insisting on meritocracy. So, and you see, I do not blame such person because that was the culture they were used to. They were used to a situation whereby the government house would just give out forms to politicians and to cronies to recruit teachers. That was a system. But you see, it's a system that, no matter how you look at it, it's a system that was taking us to nowhere. And that was why in 2019, when we came on board, over 100 schools were blacklisted by WAEC as a result of examination malpractices. Because things have got so bad that our students were no longer capable on their own to write exams without cheating, without somebody helping them to cheat. WAEC got wind of that, they got them, and that was system collapse. So if nothing exemplifies the system collapse we inherited in 2019, the fact that WAEC could blacklist over 100 schools, as a matter of fact, specifically 165 schools, were blacklisted across Kwara State for reasons of examination malpractices. What that pointed out was a complete system collapse. So we were going to remedy that, and that was why we started by ensuring that we have the right environment, by ensuring that we pay our teachers as and when due, by making sure that we engage very competent teachers, and we ensure that those who they met in the system, that's the older teachers, were being trained and retrained. On top of that, we have also introduced the Kwara Land. The Kwara Land introduces technology to the basic education sector by ensuring that we put a gadget, a tablet in the hands of our teachers. And there are many reasons why we have done that. We are not interested in sacking anybody. His Excellency has made that very clear. That is not an option as far as we are concerned in Kwara State, because mass sack of teachers will lead to economic hardship, and we do not want that for our people. So we decided to go the way of technology. We have deployed technology in our schools such that if you are teaching in Bapoko Junior Secondary School, the head of SUBEB and some other education inspectors can track you. They are able to know what you are teaching and where you are at a particular time. His Excellency can open his laptop and discover which teacher is teaching where at what time. And that is the beauty of what we have done. We don't have to start chasing people around or molesting people. No, we deploy technology to ensure a regime of transparency and accountability in our schools. And that is working for us. Today, when you go to our schools, our teachers are now aware that somebody somewhere is monitoring them. Without, you don't need to hold us with. But with technology, we are changing the orientation of our people without insulting their sensibilities. Apart from that, we also ensure that people stick to the national curriculum. The government of Nigeria, the government of Kwara State have adopted a certain curriculum, whether in mathematics, whether in English language, whether in technology, whether in business studies and all of that. We have a national curriculum that anybody who teaches in our schools must adhere to. And the purpose of having a gadget with you is that that curriculum has been uploaded to the tablet. So what you are going to teach in week 1 of 52 weeks you have, or whatever you have in the year, is already programmed on that thing. So the question of you veering off the curriculum does not arise. That's number 2. Number 3 is that we're also introducing our children to technology. You know, in this age, some part of the world, they have gone paperless. Yeah, we know we are still struggling, but we have started somewhere by ensuring that our children, as early as those from primary 1 through primary 6, are already introduced to technology in public schools. And today we have deployed Kwara Land in 4 local governments, in Ilorin West, in Ilorin East, in Ifa local government, and in Bambi. And as I talk to you, God willing, by December, we will be adding some more local government to it until we cover all of the 16 local government. Now, between August, September that we deployed Kwara Land, and now we have recorded at least 43% more pupils intake in public schools. That shows improved public confidence in what we have to offer in public schools. Of course, the progress started right away from 2019, like I've mentioned, when we pay back the UBEC. Exactly. Now, I mean, the obligations that we had before them, the reason why we were placed on a blacklist. And then, of course, we also renovated schools at the level of secondary schools. And at the tertiary level, we are all aware of the story of how teachers at the College of Education were on strike for several months because they were not being paid. Most of their courses had lost accreditation. Today, we have restored all of that. Our colleges of education are running. I'm not saying we have addressed all of the problems, but I'm saying that we are now stable. From a state that was in coma in 2019, Kwara is now stable. And that's what we have achieved, particularly in the education sector. In the health sector, it is the same thing. I wrote in January that we inherited just a single nurse hired by the Kwara State Primary Health Agency. One nurse. Today we have hired, I'm sure we have hired a lot more between January and now, but as of January when I wrote my article, we have hired 43 more. Look at the percentage rise, the percentage of growth, and that has reflected in the health indices. We've been paying counterpart funds, we've paid for malaria, we have paid for iron, which is for nutrition, we have paid for some other things. And in the area of malaria, for instance, the rating of Kwara, the malaria prevalence in Kwara in 2019 was 27. That's it. Now, that is far, far above the national average. Today, malaria prevalence is now 20% in Kwara State. That is 3 points below the national average and 7 points from where we started from in 2019. So that exemplifies serious categorical change between where we are coming from and where we are now. Similarly, when you look at the maternal mortality, when you look at the infant mortality, when you look at the neonatal mortality and all of these things, we have recorded impressive growth over the past 3 years at that level. Now, if you want to also test the strength of our achievement, look at the General Hospital in Ilorin. When we came on board, General Hospital barely had 4 hours of electricity. Today, the General Hospital in Ilorin enjoy over 18 hours of electricity. When we came on board General Hospital, in fact, the entire Kwara State did not have a single life-saving gadget. I'm talking about ventilators and some of that, and ambulances that could save lives on the go. But I did not have a single one. Today, when you go to Sobi Specialist Hospital, where we have the infectious disease center now, which was the first of its time, by the way, when we came on board, Kwara State did not have that. We have established infectious disease center, which is well equipped. Apart from that, when you go to General Hospital, we have well equipped facilities there. I'm not saying that it is yet uhuru, but I'm saying that compared to where we are coming from, it is only a blind person that cannot see that clear difference between where we took off in 2019 and where we are now. Today we have an ICU that is one of its kind in the entire North Central. Today we have eye care center that is one of its kind in this region. Today we have a dental facility that is one of its kind in this region. As a matter of fact, from the expert assessment, the eye care facility that we have in Ilorin now, that we have in Kwara State now, is now second in the entire northern northern region, only to Kaduna, which is a national hospital. And that tells you the quantum of growth, the quantum of achievement that this administration has achieved. Like I said, check all the indices, all the indices. The difference is clear between where we are coming from and where we are now. In terms of water, you all know, anybody who is a resident of Ilorin, who is a resident of Kwara State, will tell you that what was prevalent in Kwara State at that time was the sight of water tankers. That was anywhere you go to. Water tanker was the source of water, so water supply. for the people of Kwara State, for the people of the Ilorin metropolis especially. That has changed. If you see water tanker anywhere now, they're probably servicing maybe a construction site. It is no longer the source of water supply to members of the public. Like I said, I like to say it a lot so that people will not misunderstand me. I'm not saying that we have achieved everything we want to achieve. But I'm saying that given where we took off from in 2019, when you look at it, they are poles apart, they are miles apart. Things have improved. In Jaba is just next to River Niger. Jaba did not have public water supply. Today, we have started and completed a new water work, which of course it will be commissioned very shortly. But we started it from the scratch in Jaba. And Jaba, with due respect, is a popular town, not just in Kwara State, but in the entire northern region. But for the first time, an administration came on board in 2019, and it is the same administration that is giving Jaba its first source of public water. And that's a shame on the past. In Dumagi, we have a new water work, which will also service that axis. A number of water works that had collapsed in the past in Guanara, in Kwara South, Igbaja, Ofa. We have restarted all of these things, and they are now working to a good extent. We have not covered everywhere, but in Ofa, for instance, the last time they had access to water supply was over a decade ago. Now, Ofa is now having access to public water. It may not be everywhere, but you can point to different areas in Ofa where they now have access to public water. The same thing for Igbaja. I was in Igbaja, I saw things for myself. When we pumped water to the pipes, you know, these pipes have collapsed. You saw water leaking everywhere. People were shouting because for many years they were not having access to public water. This administration has changed that trajectory. Today, Igbaja now has access to public water. So the same thing when you go to many parts in Kwara North. In fact, there were areas in Barutin local government that they were getting water from Benin Republic. Of course, there's this proximity between the Benin Republic and part of Nigeria here in that axis. But we are changing that story. We are changing that, just like the story of the radio station I mentioned to you earlier. The same thing for healthcare. There were areas, people then, they were having to go cross the border to access healthcare. We have changed that story. We have changed that story. So, mention that sector. Is it in the area of agric, where we met not a single functional tractor, not a single one in the agri sector? Today, we now have 15 brand new tractors bought by this administration and 2 bulldozers. And they are scattered across the state working on farms. I'm not saying there were no functional tractors in the entire Kwara State as a whole, because we had private people who had these things. But I'm talking about government. Government did not have a single, Ministry of Agri did not have a single functional tractors when we came up in 2019. And this has been fact-checked repeatedly, even by some of our political enemies. And they have found that to be correct. Like I said, we now have 15. We want to purchase a lot more. But we have started. We have traveled several miles from where we took off from. Safety net. The administration has been deliberate in ensuring that we redistribute wealth to the people. We ensure that people who ordinarily will not have access to a share of public wealth, people who ordinarily will not be included in the financial institution. This administration put in place the Kwara State Social Investment Program, and that program has benefited up to 100,000 Kwarans across different strata. You talk about Owo Arubo, talk about Owo Ishowo, you talk about the Kwapreneur, you talk about the one that trains young people. This is the initiative of His Excellency Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq. rural areas had become ghost communities when we came on board. But by the virtue of the investment of His Excellency in the education sector, I mentioned to you how when you go to any part of Kwara State, you see new structures coming up. They now have more teachers compared to what they had in the past. I give you an example of my community. I'm from Alabe, in a district of Ife local government. And I used to tell people that when I was living Alabe, circa 1994, 1995, we were having up to 10, 12 teachers. By 2019, when we came on board, we were barely having 2, 3 teachers in the entire primary school. Entire primary school. Yes, people were no longer taking their children there because the system had collapsed. Now we have changed all of that, and today even the non-indigents who are farming there are now being persuaded to register their children because you now have better structure, improved structure. Roads now lead to that place, good roads. We have now posted nurses, and it is not limited to Alabe now. This is the development in most part of the Kwara hinterlands. That was not the situation before, and those areas are now regaining. They're not coming back from collapse, from coma, because most of, like I said, we were having enclave development in Kwara State before. Development was concentrated in a particular area, and that was not even beneficial to the area because Ilorin, for instance, was already becoming an urban slum because development was not spread to other parts of the state. Today, this administration is developing Kwara State, not just the central, but every part of Kwara State is now having a share of government presence. And that's where people now have confidence to want to live in their locality. Today, you can set out from Ilorin and get to my community within a space of, say, 3 hours. It's far-flung. But before, you probably spend about 7 hours, 6 hours before you get to my area. That's serious improvement. The same way when you go to Baruti, when you go to Karama, when you go to several other parts of Kwara State. So, anywhere, anyhow you look at it, there has been serious development between 2019 and today. And when you look at the way people's perception of government and governance is also changing, we are aware that it's difficult to change a people's belief overnight, but it has changed. Gone is the era when you are a public officer, then you are seen as a multimillionaire overnight. That's not a good culture, but it was the prevailing system then, and that was why it was a do or die and all of that. Today, people do not necessarily see government offices as being so attractive, except perhaps for people who still believe that they can make that happen, that they want to become millionaires overnight. That is no longer possible. Yes, you will get your share of what you should get as a public officer, but that is moderate compared to where we are coming from. You can no longer become a multimillionaire, a millionaire overnight by virtue of being a public officer. When you are in public office today, you have to serve. You get your salaries, you may get some other allowances here and there, but it is no longer you get into public office and then the norm will now be that once you're a public officer, then you have people riding all kinds of cars and what have you and all of that. So that is changing and it's good for our development, particularly, and I want to appeal to our young people. This is very, very important. Public office is not an avenue to become multimillionaires. Public office is an avenue to serve the people. It doesn't mean you should become pauperized. No. The public office is not meant to pauperize you, but it also does not mean that you will become multimillionaires overnight, like we used to have in the past. It's an avenue for you to serve. So if you want to serve, yes, you should join politics, You should join in public service, but have it at the back of your mind that a culture of public officers becoming multimillionaires overnight is not a good culture. It's a culture that brought us down this line, not just in Kwara State, but in Nigeria as a whole. We need to begin to change our belief system to see public office as a place to serve the people, as a place to make impact in the lives of the people. We are grateful to His Excellency for giving us the opportunity to serve, because from time to time, particularly for some of us who are young, we've been able to speak in favor of young people, particularly when government was going to hire teachers and whatever. We were able to prevail on the older ones to say, hey, let us bring down the age of recruitment to maximum of 35. And we succeeded in doing that. We were able to sell that sentiment because we are young people, and we felt there was a need to ensure that we give the opportunity to young people. Similarly, look at the Quadpreneur. Look at what that program has been able to do in the lives of young people. Hundreds of young people have benefited from getting non-interest loan to support their business. That's because His Excellency feels strongly that young people should be supported to grow. So anyhow you look at it, we have grown tremendously. There are a lot of things to be done. We concede that we still have a lot to do. However, compared to where we're coming from, the difference is just so clear. And I need to also mention that for many years, the state was running on what you may call autopilot. You know, it is safe for some people in the opposition today to say, what is the administration doing? He's doing this, he's doing that, and all of that. This administration now works according to plan. When we came on board, we didn't meet any plan, any master plan for the state. No. Compared to several other states, we didn't meet all of that. Today we have designed a plan, sustainable development plan for the people of Kwara State. And that plan will run over the next 10 years. Similarly, the capital city, Ilorin, used to have a master plan. And that is the way it ought to be. But the first and the only master plan that Ilorin ever had was drawn in the 1970s. That plan should have expired around 1990s. 1990s, 2000. Which means that between 2000 and 1999, Kwara was run on autopilot. Which is why when you have rain, when you have little rain today, the entire metropolis is flooded. Why? Because the plan upon which Ilorin stand had long expired. Where you were supposed to have drainages, people have built houses. Where you are supposed to have schools, you were having some other things there. Where you are supposed to have markets, you were having some other things there. And that is a product of lack of plan. Today, His Excellency demand the right to the right has come up with a master plan spanning the next 20 years. So even after he finishes his second term, God willing, in 2027, because I believe the people of Kwara State will reward him with another term, you still have up to another decade that the plan will continue to run, the master plan will continue to run. And once the people coming after us stick to that, Ilorin will be properly planned, because Ilorin is expanding. It's one of the fastest growing capital cities in Nigeria today, by virtue of the fact that Ilorin is peaceful, Kwara is peaceful. This is a state of harmony. People are coming from every part of Nigeria to want to have one or two things to do with Kwara State, with Ilorin, the capital city. And that is why it is growing every day. When you look at the quantum of the number of businesses you had in Kwara State today, and compare it to what you had in 2019, you can see that the margin is just too wide. For instance, in terms of industries, whereas we had around 41 in 2019, we now have a minimum of 77 today. Look at the quantum of growth. So Ilorin is growing every day, Kwara is growing every day, but we cannot continue to live that way without having proper plan, which is why this administration has given Kwara State, has given the capital city its second plan ever since 1967. So it is cheap for anybody to say ABC. These were people who were governing the state without a plan, which is why many of them on their own even had buildings in areas where you are not supposed to have it. Some of them went as far as hijacking public properties and converted it to their own private property, which is why they are so desperate to ensure that they come back so that they can continue to plunder the state. I'm sure the people of Kwara State are not going to allow that to happen. We should continue along this growth trajectory because that is the best thing for the people of Kwara State.
Thank you, sir. Looking at the topic of this discussion, that is Asian law beyond 2023. We got a message from Suleiman from Jeba to confirm what you just said about the situation in Jeba. Sir, beyond 2023, what should Kwara be expecting from the state agency?
Well, the people of Kwara should expect consolidation of the growth trajectory that we've been having over the past 3 years. I have spoken to you about the Sustainable Development Plan, which this administration has come up with. We will continue to implement that, and we want to have growth across all the sectors, particularly in the economy. We have a garment factory that is 90% completed. We have several ongoing projects, including the Ilorin International Conference Center, which is one of its kind in the northern region, of course, apart from outside of Abuja. Now, all of these facilities, all of these programs, all of these policies need enough time to mature, and which is why the people of Kwara State are better off giving His Excellency a new term. When he is given a new term, he will be able to consolidate on the gains of Otoge, because the last 3-4 years have been spent rebuilding the state. There is a need for consolidation of those achievements. There is a need to ensure that we are not taken back to where we were, because I gave you an example of how some people will sleep in their bedroom and they will have teaching job thrown on their laps, whether or not they applied for it, whether or not they merited it. We don't want to go back to that era. And when you look at most of the people wanting to take over, the mentality is that we also deserve to be there, not necessarily because they feel Kwara State ought to continue to grow along the path of ensuring that the right thing is done at the right time. Some people believe strongly that being in public office means you want to become a multimillionaire overnight. I have to say this, there is no shame about it. His Excellency drives his own car. Until recently, the Deputy Governor was driving his own car. Until recently. He still lives in private apartment. His Excellency lives in private apartment. The car I'm driving, with due respect, is something that was taken from the pool. That car is probably 6-7 years old. Ordinarily, if we want to live like kings at the expense of the people of Kwara State, we would have changed all of these vehicles. Until a few months ago, None of our commissioners had official cards. And even as of today, many of them still do not have. We are not ashamed of this. It goes to confirm the sacrifice that His Excellency and the people working with him are making to ensure that we rebuild Kwara State. We ensure that we take Kwara State to the next level. We ensure that Kwara State levels up to where it ought to be. The state was created in 1967 alongside other states of the Federation, some other states of the Federation. Look at some of its mates today. Many of them, yes, comparatively, they are now better positioned economically. They are now better positioned, even in political maturity, in political culture. So His Excellency is just evolving a new political culture whereby being in public office does not confer any special advantage on you compared to ordinary citizens. That's a new political culture. That was not the political culture we knew in Kwara State. So it needs a new term to consolidate on this achievement, and it will be to the benefit of the largest majority of our people, which is why it's also important. I tell you, the 2023 election is more important to the people of Kwara State, even more than the 2019 election, because it's a time for the people of Kwara State to reconfirm, to affirm to the entire world that they truly wanted a change from where we were. And that's why it's important that for everyone who has PVC, for every Kwaran who has PVC, the only good that you can do for the future of this state is to re-elect Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq as your governor.
Thanks very much, sir. People always call this administration Ijoba Mekunu.
Yeah.
Why Ijoba Mekunu? Why do they refer this government to Ijoba?
I think I mentioned that briefly earlier on, that this administration, His Excellency especially, is passionate about wealth redistribution. For a very long time, people had been left behind. Majority of our people had been left behind. People were not given the right opportunity to aspire to the highest level that their talent could take them to. And I gave you the example of how we recruited teachers. The story out there is that even members of the opposition got teaching jobs. But you see, we care less about that. We only care about the future of Kwara State. And that is very, very important. And that tells you, the system we have now is such that the child or the children of nobody, so to speak, can aspire to the highest level. Everybody in this state, and that is what I call Ijoba Mekunu, everybody in this state is given a fair shot. You are given a fair shot. Now, it doesn't take away the fact that the governor has to take care of members of his political family, which is a standard anywhere in the world. But ultimately, government programs, government policies, government projects are serving the entire people of Kwara State. When you look at the Kwasi, who are the beneficiaries? The Mekunus. The people who ordinarily would never dream of being captured in the financial record of the country are now being captured by the virtue of the social investment program, because for anything you benefit from the government, you will be linked to the financial network. And that means the government is ensuring that he is giving financial voice to every Kwaran that wants to get that through the Kwasi program, the Owarugo, which is being given to the elderly people. All of us, we know the story. For many years, sometimes annually, people were dying in their dozens because somebody somewhere wanted to, somebody somewhere claimed to want to support them. In the name of wanting to give them Eba, Semo, or whatever you call it, people were dying in their hundreds. But this administration felt that, look, the money you were giving to them then was probably public funds. It's not any personal money. Now, this administration is saying we are not pretending over anything. We want to serve the Mekunus, but we want to serve them in a way acceptable under our law. We took a law to the House of Assembly, which is the Kwara law. It was passed, it was assented to, and today, like I said, nearly 100,000 people are now benefiting under different categories. And that's a big deal. The Owalugo have mentioned that. And then the Owalugo, which has different categories, because there is the Owalugo that targets the petty traders. There is the component of it that targets the transport people, the transporters. There is a segment of it that also targets youth who have business ideas. And that's where the Quadpreneur 1, Quadpreneur 2.0, Quadpreneur 3.0, which is ongoing. That's where that comes in. So anyhow you look at it, this administration has succeeded in redistributing wealth to every member of the public, and that is why it is actually called Ijoba Mekuno.
We want to appreciate you for this honor, for giving us this time to ensure that the achievement of the administration led by Alhaji Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq is being seen ahead by Nigeria and Kwara. So to round it up, please, I want you to put more light on the kind of our loans, the money, the bonds, the explain. That's one. Two, I heard people saying this government deliberately did not allow people to, the secondary school people who sat for NECO, that they did not allow it because of certain amount of money the government did not pay. And I asked them, the government that bought out secondary school from being blacklisted, they paid almost
450 million.
450 million above to bring back our big back life to the school. So why would that government allow such to happen? Please, if you know or if you can explain about that, please, we will appreciate that.
Well, I don't think it is true that the government is frustrating anything. Just like you have mentioned, if a government could put down 450 million to bring us out of the blacklist, how much is maybe 2-3 or so million naira? Do you understand that the government would not be able to do? That is not true. In any event, the state government naturally does not pay for NECO. Okay? And that did not start under this administration. We are not making any pretense over that. Kwara State Government last paid for NECO possibly maybe 2015, 2016. So, and this is something you can confirm from record. Now, but I think the one you are talking about is an isolated case of Queen School, the exchange student, and then maybe School of Special Needs or something like that. And by the last information I had, the government is already working on that. I'm aware that the Ministry of Education has prepared a memo, and His Excellency has approved that memo, and very shortly, I'm sure, is an issue. It's a done deal already. It's something that is sorted. I hope I've addressed that. Now, you mentioned about the bond. I like that question because that affords me the opportunity to also speak to some of our huge projects. I've been deliberate in ensuring that we speak to simple issues that people can easily relate with. Now, so far, the administration has only taken 27.2 billion naira bond. And we have explained this a couple of times, even before we took the loan. Now, when you look at Kwara State, it is not called a civil service state for no reason. The situation we found ourselves was such that we were using, and we are still using, because of what we met on the ground, over 80% at the state level, over 80% of our revenue on recurrence on paying salaries and other overheads. That is without the cost of running government. That is without emergencies. Now, if you spend over 80% on just paying salaries and overheads of what you have, what is left for development? Virtually nothing. And you see, it is not an option for this administration to sack anyone. We are not interested in doing that, because the moment you sack people en masse, what you are doing, one, you will be imposing hardship on several families across the state. And that will have a domino effect, to have domino effect on the socio-economic well-being of the people of Kwara State. Because when workers take their salary, they don't just keep it in their pocket. They go to the market. They pay school fees. They go to, they patronize healthcare facilities and whatever for their well-being, which is normal. So when you don't pay salaries, you are indirectly bringing the economy on its knees. And this administration is not interested in that. As a matter of fact, we have repeatedly come to the rescue of different businesses when they were in distress. An example is the NSAS. Over 48 business concerns were supported by this administration, to the glory of God. And today they are doing very, very well. Some of them have gone from their little beginnings to opening up in other areas of Ilorin. And we are glad, we are proud of that achievement. So the administration is not interested in sacking anyone. Why did I mention that? If you want to drastically reduce your well-being from consuming the 80% of your revenue, it means you have to sack people en masse. And we are not going to do that. We are never going to do that. It is not an option. We will continue to manage what we have, okay? Until situation improves, and then you are able to save up money here and there. And then you use up some for development. But at the moment, if you want to have any legacy project, if you want to truly open up the state, I mentioned to you the Osiobo, I don't know whether I mentioned that earlier, the one we are doing that opens up Kwara State to Ekiti border, Ekiti state borders. That's 11.1 kilometers, and it's asphalt road. That road has been there for over 50 years. The former administrations paid lip service to it. They never did it. They awarded it. They cancelled it. They awarded. They cancelled it. For the first time, as attested to by the Owalobo a few days ago, this administration is on the verge of completing and delivering that road. In fact, just shortly before I started this engagement, I saw that they have started the asphalt overlay, because we traveled on that road on Saturday, and you can see that it was ready for priming. Apparently, they have done the priming, and then they have started the asphalt overlay. We are doing that for the first time in 50 years. That road has been there. The same thing, Ilesha-Gwanara Road. That road was started in 2013 by the former administration as a surface dressing road. We came on board in 2019. Over 65% of money meant for that road had been spent, and less than 30% of the work had been done. We had to manage the situation because we did not want to impose hardship on our people. We added roughly 65 million naira to it. That road has been converted to asphalt, and today, through the bond that we have taken, that road is over 75% completed. And very shortly it will be delivered. The same thing for Osiobo that I mentioned. The same thing, the garment factory we are doing. In the first phase, garment factory will hire 2,000 people, direct jobs. So, which means you are going to have thousands of indirect jobs being created. You are creating an entirely new economy in that axis. This is being done through the board. The giant bridge that we are doing, General Tunde Idiado Bridge, which is opening up Ilorin in a way. Because when you look at the tanker axis, where it empties into the university, but when you then look at the one coming, the pipeline and all that, you are redesigning that axis. You are preparing it to open up another axis of Ilorin. That is being done through the bond. The Anikuma Road is also very shortly to be delivered. We are on it. It's also being done through the bond. The Visual Arts Center, the Innovation Hub, the Film Factory, all of these things are being fixed through the bond. Like I said, we have taken, that's the money we have taken, 27.2 billion naira bond. And when we look at the inflationary trend, I want to repeat this. The 27.2 billion naira we are taking is just about half the 17 billion naira that the admission of His Excellency Bukola Saraki took. Well, yes, in value. That is the truth. And people are quick to say, you have added this thing. The system had been messed up. It had been messed up such that there was no allowance for development anymore. We were going to just continue to pay salaries and what have you. So, and the administration was not going to be known for just paying just salary. The administration wants to be known as a government that opened up the state for investment, for true economic development. And that is what we have done. We have succeeded in doing that. I've mentioned to you several projects that are now putting Kwara on the global map, not just in Nigeria, not just in Africa, global map. Because the Visual Arts Center, the Film Factory we are putting in place there, possibly after Lagos, you do not have any of such anywhere in Nigeria. Maybe when you go to Accra again, or you go to Durban in South Africa. So, if you want to start counting the number of countries, the number of places in Africa where you have such facility, there will be theater studios. You will be counting Kwara State. And that is placing Kwara on the global map. The same thing, the ICC we are building is a giant facility that will make it one of its kind in the country. When you start mentioning how many places you have this kind of massive facility, you start mentioning Kwara. It will attract a lot of investment to the state because you will be having new events, big events coming to Kwara State. Because for now, I'm not sure you have any facility in the state where you can host massive events, international conferences. I'm not sure you have any. So you are going to be having that kind of facility. And that is being done by this administration. So the same thing, look at the bridge there. By the time that bridge is completed, today when you go to London, you say you want to visit the London Bridge. That bridge, by the time it is completed, it will be one of the monuments in Kwara State. Because apart from the structure, the design that comes with it will make it one of its kind in the state. One of its kind in central Nigeria. And that's a big deal. People may not get this. It's a big deal really because it's a reference point in development. When you go to Lagos today, the Ikoyi Bridge is a monument on its own. It's something that people, in fact, some people deliberately want to pass that bridge. And you know when you pass that bridge, you don't go there for free. You pay. You pay money. You pay for toll gate. Okay? So, and that brings revenue. I'm not saying we are going to have toll gate here. So that, calm down. I'm not saying we are going to have toll gate, but I'm saying that it's a monument on its own. It's something that when you want to start mentioning Kwara, like you are mentioning the waterfall in Owu, the waterfall, the Oromola waterfall, the Shobi, you start mentioning the Tunde Idiagbo Bridge because it will be a monument on its own. Apart from the fact that it opens up that axis, it also brings prestige to the people of Kwara State. You go outside and when the Gaussians mention the Ikoyi Bridge, you mention today Idiagbo Bridge. It's a monument. Like I mentioned to you, London Bridge is a monument. The bridge you have in New York, the New York Bridge, is a monument. So it's not a bad idea for a people to have things they can reference, like the Central Mosque Ilori is a monument. So a people, apart from eating food, apart from wearing clothes, you also need certain things to keep your human dignity. And one of those things to say, where I come from, we have so and so there. So it's a big deal, really, okay? Like I said, the bond we have accessed are tied to specific projects. Now, last year, the federal government decided to recoup some of the facilities it had extended to virtually all the states of the Federation in 2015-2016. Kwara State got its share of it, billions of naira. And I can say that the billions of naira were spent on the current, not on any projects. Not on any projects. Now, because of those loans that were taken as far back as 2015, 2016, 2017, federal government wanted to start getting that money back. And the state of the Federation, because of the COVID, because of the hardship that came on its trail, appealed to federal government to please support the state of the Federation so that the state will not collapse. Because at the level we were going, many states of the Federation were not going to be able to pay salaries by the time federal government started deducting that money from 2016. So a decision was taken by the federal government to support all the states of the Federation. And that was why the 18.6 billion naira came. So you may not call it a loan taken by the state as such, because this is the money that the federal government gave to every state of the Federation. It's not like the government of Abdulrahman went cap in hand to federal government to solicit for loan. So today, if you want to ask me straight up, I will say we have only taken one loan, which is 27.2 billion naira bond, and it's a bond really. It is structured in such a way that not a dime of it can be diverted, because it is properly managed through a proper vehicle of accountability and transparency, such that if 1 naira has been tied to a particular project, you cannot take a dime out of that for another thing, unlike what we had in the past. So that is that. Whatever money we have taken is being used judiciously. And let me say this. Some people are quick to say that His Excellency said in his interview that out of the 27.2 billion naira, we had only spent 70 billion and we were keeping 10 billion, and they started joking about that. I think the joke is on those people, because the question is this: if you award a contract of 1 billion naira, for instance, are you going to pay the entire 1 billion naira to the contractor? That doesn't happen anywhere in the world. You are only going to pay per the milestones of the project. If you award a project, for instance, the norm, except in some instances, the norm is that you pay 30% advance, okay? And then you start paying people per the milestone of the project as the project progresses. So what's the big deal if the governor says that we have only spent 17 billion naira and then we have the remaining kept in the bank? Should we have kept it under the floor? Because I love when people say this. I don't understand what they meant. Should we have kept that money in their bedroom? Shouldn't we have kept it in the bank? I don't get it. I want to be corrected. So when the governor said this is what has been spent, it means that we were only spending that money per the progress of our project. So when the contractor needs more money, the money is somewhere for them to pay. Except I'm missing something. So it is laughable when people then, I even had a governorship candidate going on radio to say that that they kept money somewhere. Should we have kept it in his bedroom? I don't get it. I want to be corrected, please. So that is it with regards to the question on the bond and then what you asked earlier.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity to meet us today. To have the one-on-one chat with you. My question is to go to what you have discussed earlier on the issue of the weather of the stamps of Sudan as well as the local government. Then this rumor going around now that the government is set to clear the arrears, just as the government has been paying it a little more, but as of now, we heard that the government wants to clear the arrears and being run by the past administration. How true is this statement?
To be honest, I have not been briefed about that, and I'm not going to do what people will say. I've forgotten that Yoruba adage now, which is like just boasting and saying what you do not mean. It is not in our culture to lie to the people, not at all. When we get certain things wrong, we are quick to admit that we are wrong. So I'm not aware of that rumor that you have said, but what I can say is that the government considers that as an obligation. It is something that we really, really want to pay. We are committed to paying it, which is why anytime the government at the local government level, because we do not manage the resources of local government for them. They manage their resources. The only involvement that the state government perhaps has is that the Constitution, by default, makes the Honorable Commissioner for Finance the chairman of whatever committee that manages the funds of local government. That is the creation of the Constitution, not the creation of Mall Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq. So that is that with our involvement. So they manage their money on their own. You can ask anybody, you can ask union members how their money is being spent, which is why the number one priority has always been workers' welfare, workers' salary. And that is why between 2019, when we took over, and today, what we have been doing is to steadily pay the arrears that we inherited from the past. It's unfortunate that we have not been able to clear it all at once. We would have loved to do that. We have the money. Some people have suggested the option of government taking loans. But again, when you do that, it means it's a double tragedy because you are taking loan. And when you take loan, the interest will start accruing. You may succeed in sorting the teachers or the workers at the local government level, but it also means that the local government remain indebted somehow because you have to pay back to the banks. So I think the resolution is to continue to pay this money as you have excesses. You have new money. Anytime there is allowance for that, government quickly pays. Government quickly pays. Government quickly pays that. Do you understand? In fact, I heard that members of the committee, which comprises the leadership of the local government, including civil servants and union leaders, that it was their unanimous decision that there are two opinions. Opinion number one, and I'm speaking to what I heard, I'm not a member, okay? I do not have a reason to be a member. There are two opinions. One is that let us continue to save up any excesses, maybe 1 naira, 2 naira, or surplus, as you may call it. Let us continue to save up until we have a lump sum that can pay maybe like 2 months or 1 month, because that 1 month can be as much as 2 billion naira, can be as much as 3 billion naira, depending on how you look at it. But the majority opinion is that government should continue to sort that money as that surplus comes in, which is why government has been paying it in percentages. That is, I'm talking about the arrears now. So it is the majority opinion. That's not even the decision of the government per se, but it's the majority opinion of the union leaders and some other members of the committee that manages the local government funds to sort that arrears out. Because what they do is this: when their money comes from Abuja, they first and foremost sort the teachers and the workers before any other thing. And that's a decision that preceded us. It is not a decision that this government comes about, which is why I laugh at it when some people say that the local government, there's no local government autonomy. As far as financial autonomy is concerned, there is 1000% autonomy for local government in Kwara State. This administration does not touch a dime of their money. In fact, repeatedly, when they had shortfall, the government has had to come to their rescue to ensure that we do not pay percentage salaries as an administration. And today,
so does it mean that this state government is strictly compliant with the NFIU?
Absolutely. Since 2019, we've been compliant with NFIU since 2019. Kwara State is 100% compliant of NFIU. That's a fact, and you can confirm that.
Well done, sir. My own question is based on security. The reason why I'm saying is that I really want to appreciate the state governor, because I saw this morning in the news that he empowered security agencies with some particular, or let me say, operational vehicles. I'm saying this because I stayed in Plateau State for close to 30 years, and I know how security are there during that time, because sometimes we have to stay in our houses to pray. When you go to viewing centers, you have to be checked before you get into the viewing place. My question is, the security issue basically is on fake news, because when people spread fake news, it's a major tool of your security. This happened in just when a man called a friend, telling the friend that they are killing them, whereas the man is holding Furadinu, and he's telling people that they were killing them. So you can imagine that kind of a fake information. So what is the state government doing on fake news to curb security in the state?
Well, fake news is a present and clear danger, or you call it clear and present danger, whichever you choose to use. Fake news is something that every one of us, not just the government, must frown at. Fake news should never be tolerated, because just anybody can be the next victim of fake news. The government does not smile at it at all, which is why this administration has been very, very firm in ensuring that if you are caught spreading fake news, if you are caught lying against the next person, the government is taking the liberty to ensure that we pursue a legal case against such person. This is not a case of government being intolerant. No, it's a case of the government doing its duty to ensure that we do not allow anything that will jeopardize the collective security of the people of Kwara State. This is very, very important. This is adhering to what some people have called the 1% doctrine, where the government should not have tolerance for anything that can jeopardize security of lives and properties. And you have mentioned it, the unfortunate situation in Jos. We pray that Almighty God will restore peace to our country, not just to just alone. Kwara today is one of the most peaceful states in the country. That has been attested to repeatedly. That is not by happenstance. It is largely as a result of the collective work of the government, the collective effort of His Excellency the Governor, the collective effort of the security agencies, police, army, Navy, Air Force, NSCDC, the vigilantes, all of them, conventional and non-conventional security agencies. We are truly grateful for their effort. And of course, the effort of our traditional institutions, beginning from Makaba, the Emir Ilori, Alhaji Dr. Ibrahim Zul Gambari, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease his affairs, and all our traditional institutions in Kwara North, in Kwara South, and in every community. We truly cherish their contributions, their effort, their support to ensure that we have security of lives and properties in Kwara State. So in summary, it's important for all of us to verify anything we share. If you see anything being shared to the platform where you are, before you share it, you should ask yourself tough questions. You should confirm from trusted sources the authenticity of that information, because by the time you share it, you cannot tell what the consequences will be on the collective security of not just the people of Kwara State, but the entire people of Nigeria. And I give you a serious example that continues to bother me. In 2020, the event that culminated in the burning down of TVC was as a result of fake news. Some people sat somewhere and said the Asiwaju Tinubu was one behind the unfortunate situation at the Lekki toll gate, and pronto, some people mobilized to all business concerns and properties purportedly linked to Asiwaju Tinubu. And that was why some daredevil marched to the headquarters of TVC and burnt it down. They nearly killed people. It's unfortunate. Hundreds of our colleagues almost lost their economic life wire. They almost lost their jobs. But for the magnanimity of Asiwaju, who said that for the period that it took TVC to come back to life, he was paying their salaries. The station was paying their salaries. Imagine if somebody else was the owner of TVC, somebody who did not care about the welfare of the staff. Imagine what could have happened. Hundreds of people, innocent people, would have lost their jobs because of fake news. So, and any one of those people would have been our sisters, our brothers, our cousins. So when you spread fake news, Yoruba will say, "Tí a bá sọ̀kò sí ọjà, ara lé ẹni ló ń bá." You never can tell what the consequences of your actions will be. So I'm appealing on behalf of His Excellency the Governor and on behalf of the people of Kwara State that all of us must verify whatever piece of information we want to share. We should not just share things for the sake of it. Before you share anything at all, read through it to ensure that you are not unfairly hurting other people. You are not unfairly or unwittingly, unknowingly spreading fake news, unverified information that will loss of lives and property. So, security-wise, it's important that we need to ensure that whatever information we share is true, is verified, so that we don't jeopardize our collective security. Thank you.
I want to appreciate you for this opportunity. So we use this moment to appreciate you once more. We appreciate our our follower, our listener, our viewer at home back then. So I don't know if you have anything to add, but I think because of our time.
Exactly. The time is fast when it's time for Maghrib. Well, I have spoken extensively on the feat, the achievement of this administration, and the digital natives who are watching me now, and of course the digital immigrants, because these are the two categories of people who are on the social media. You have the digital natives, you have the digital immigrants. The two of them, please sit down and reflect on where we are coming from as a people in Kwara State. It doesn't matter what your political belief system is. You have to, I'm appealing to you to please prioritize, put the collective interest of this state above any other consideration and ensure that you vote for His Excellency Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq in 2023. He needs 4 more years to consolidate on the gains that we have made so far. We do not want to go back to the roots of the past. We do not want to go back to the ruins of the past. We do not want a situation whereby our education sector, our health system, our water sector will collapse once again. I forgot to mention something earlier. Kwara was the headquarters of open defecation when we came on board. Today, Kwara is no longer the headquarters. We have moved several points at the national level, and that is due to the effort of this government. A lot has been done, and I appeal to the content of everyone that please, in the interest of our future, in the interest of the future of our children, let us vote once again for Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq so that we can consolidate on the gains of the past 3 years. God bless you.
Thank you very much, the Chief Press Secretary to the State Governor, Abdulrahman Abdulrazaq. To this end, we have come to the end of this broadcast. On behalf of my crew, Odigbon J. Mumuf, Omola Tajuddin, S.O. Yusuf, and myself, Olufemi Okutokun, saying have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, David.